I've debated in my mind about whether or not I would include this as an episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. And if you are clicking play for the very first time for this podcast, and you get about 2 to 3 minutes into what you're about ready to hear, and you say, this is not the show for me, just do me a favor. Delete this episode and choose any other episode from the archive. Any of them. It doesn't matter. 1 episode back, 3 episodes back, 20 episodes back. Just try any other episode as your first experience of the show. And then come to a conclusion about whether or not this might be something you want to subscribe to. Now, for those of you who have been longtime listeners of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, several of you are very much aware that I have another podcast called the Train with Cliff Audio Journal. It's a behind-the-scenes podcast that has absolutely zero limits when it comes to the format of the show. Some of those episodes, most of them, I'm in my studio speaking into my Heil PR40. I am sometimes out in the field walking with a digital audio recorder in my hand, which, by the way, is what I'm doing in this episode. I was about ready to just say incredibly extended length episode, and that's what I want to speak about next. And the Train with Cliff Audio Journal podcast, it has no limit as to how long an episode can be. And when I finish introing what you're about ready to hear, what you're about ready to hear is going to be 2 hours and 20 minutes. I already know that that's unacceptable for some. Although, I find myself more and more listening to 2 and 3 hour episodes of a Joe Rogan podcast every now and then, or a Lex Friedman podcast, or some other shows out there. I personally have always enjoyed listening to content that is entertaining me, educating me, encouraging me, inspiring me, motivating me. It doesn't matter to me at all the length of a podcast episode, as long as I'm enjoying listening to it. With that being said, the Train with Cliff Audio Journal has no limit. They're not always 2 hours and 20 minutes in length. They're on average about an hour. But what you are about ready to hear is a perfect glimpse into what that show is. A behind-the-scenes, unscripted, authentic, transparent communication style that is me without filters. And if you're interested in learning more about what that sounds like, listen to this. Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of what will be the Train with Cliff Audio Journal, episode 436, and also episode 754 of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. I am out for a walk, as you might be able to instantly tell from the audio sounds and the environment. I am currently walking up a significant hill throughout the windy roads around Lake Douglas in Sevierville, Tennessee, just outside of the Smoky Mountains. My parents have an incredibly beautiful lake house down on Lake Douglas, it offers a stunning view of English Mountain, which is just across the lake, and the sun comes up over top of it every morning. And English Mountain is considered a part of the Smoky Mountain Range. It would be considered one of the foothills of the Smoky Mountains. And I think even as a foothill, it has an elevation of like 3,800 feet or something like that. Whew, this road is not a mountain that I'm climbing right now, but it certainly feels like it while trying to talk and record a podcast at the same time. I could have picked maybe a different time to start this podcast episode, and in full transparency, I already did start this episode 4 different times. So this is take 5. And I did that for your convenience, for your enjoyment.
I just have each time recognized how far off track I had already gotten from what I intended to do with this episode. So you might be asking, Cliff, what do you intend to do with this episode? Well, I'm glad you asked. Let me take a pause from walking up this incredibly large hill. Take an incredibly awesome breath of crisp, freezing cold fresh air. Wow, is it beautiful out here. Oh my gosh, is it beautiful. Anyway, let me just share this with you. It is Saturday, January 4th, 2025. It is currently day 3 of week 2 of my 3-week creative, personal, working retreat. An emphasis on each of those four words. It is a personal retreat, a creative retreat, it is a working retreat, and it is actually a retreat. It is retreating out into nature, out into a different environment, for the purpose of creativity, inspiration, connecting with nature, fresh new perspectives, fresh new air, fresh new everything. So yeah, that's what I'm down here on a 3-week personal, creative, working retreat to kick off 2025. I've talked about it in episode 753 of the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, and I've already been talking. Everybody who's subscribed to the Train with Cliff audio journal, you guys already know about all of this. So what am I going to share with you? Well, first of all, I just want to tell you, I'm freezing out here, but I'm out here because the sun is shining. There is almost no clouds in the sky right now, and the sun is absolutely bright, shining. Its rays of warmth on my face is amazing. But as soon as I turn away from the sun, it's instantly realized that it is 27 degrees Fahrenheit. That is literally below freezing. So I'm out for a walk because the sun is shining, and I'm going to continue to walk up this hill as I share with you what I intend to share in this episode. So I came down here for a great deal of inspired thought, creative ideas, things. I came down here for a time of reflection. I came down here for the ability to break free from the habitual hypnotic rhythms and patterns of behavior that my subconscious mind had put on autopilot for my benefit, that associated the environments that I live in on a daily basis with certain activities, with certain thoughts, with certain behaviors and even emotional states. This is all neuroassociation. It is neurologically creating synapses and connections in the brain that this equals that. This equals that. So if this, sitting in front of my desk in my office, then this. Check your email, check your to-do list, start working on these things, and get these things done as quickly as possible. There's more, and there's thoughts that are associated. There's only so much time in the day. There's more to be done than there's time for. Let's evaluate the priorities of these things, and let's just take the things that's most important, blah, blah, blah. And what's not in that association is, hey, let me step back from all of that thought and ask myself, these things that I have on my list to do today, are they even what is right for me to do in this season of my life? So that's why I've come down here, and I began creating a list called my what is it called? Let me open up Notion, and I'll tell you what I actually called it. Let's see here, favorites. Oh, it's just called Inspired Ideas. I simplified it. Let me try that again. I simplified the title to just Inspired Ideas, and it's got a little light bulb icon on there. And the reason why I called it, or what this document is, it's actually to capture and communicate in a clear and concise way the ideas and insights and inspiration that I'm receiving while on this personal, creative, working retreat. So I'm going to share with you in this episode what's on that list. I may also, let me go back to my notes here and tell you about some other things you might learn here. I'll share with you 2 books that I have started reading while on this time away. I will share with you what's on my list for the rest of the day. And I may even share some technical things, some tools that I've been using as far as how do I have internet access in the middle of nowhere, and what has that been like with the various tools that I'm using. I'm going to share with you my routines that I have. One of the things that I want to do is also create new routines while I'm down here, new habits, and reestablish some of the more, let's just say, higher standards of what my routines have been. So I might have always had a standard of working out daily. I may have always had a standard of eating healthy and intentionally. I may have always had a standard of journaling. I may have always had a standard of regular daily meditation. But what I've noticed in some of those areas is the actual quality of some of those daily routines, when carried out, are oftentimes not at the level at which my intention was when I set those out as being, hey, these are the practices that allow me to show up in the world the way I most want to show up in the world. I'm going to share with you in this episode some client engagement that I've had, some client re-engagement, some potential client engagement, some things that are up in the air right now. You know, it's just going to be a very authentic, transparent episode when it comes to all of those things. And like I said, I'm pretty sure this is the episode where this is like take 5. I'm going to go straight into it. So I've already talked about what day. I think I told you it's Saturday, January 4th, 2025, day 3, week 2 of my 3-week. Did I mention the emphasis on the 4 words in here? This is the problem when you do this, like the 5th time that you did this. I know I did this in the first 4, but I do it in this one. I want to emphasize all 4 words of what I've chosen to call what I'm on. It is a personal, meaning solo, solitude. It is a creative. It means that I'm creating new. There's things that are being put into my reality as a result of the thoughts that are inspired. It's creative. So things are being put into action, put into place, being brought forth into reality. By the way, if I ever seem like I get caught off guard or something like that, I am walking on these back roads that are up and down hills. They are winding roads. There's a lot of evergreen, little bit of vegetation. Okay, a lot of bit of vegetation around me. Oh my gosh, these mountain ranges that I'm seeing right here are stunning, and I didn't even see it until I just paused for a moment. Wow. Okay, so Father Roderick, my friend in the Netherlands, does this all the time, where he gets caught and he stops to take pictures. But I'm going to do this right here because I'm going to put these into my journal for sure. Gosh, is it stunning. And in fact, I'm going to do a pano of here. But anyway, if what I've shared with you sounds remotely interesting, then by all means, stick around for this entire episode. If none of it sounds interesting to you, feel free to move on to the next episode, especially those who are subscribed or listening to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show. If this is not the format you want, I understand. But for those of you who have been listening to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show for quite some time, and maybe from time to time you've heard me drop a hint about the Train with Cliff audio journal podcast, this right here is exactly the format of that show. It's unformatted, unscripted, and I just share openly, authentically about what my experiences are, and I absolutely love doing it. Oh my gosh, these mountains are so stunning, and it's so much different being out here on foot than, I see these things when I'm driving in and out from the lake. It is about a 25-minute drive, because my parents' lake house is right on Lake Douglas, and it has a stunning location, beautiful point, and then to get all the way back to the main highway, I think it might be the Dolly Parton Highway or whatever. It's just this main highway. It takes 25 minutes of driving hairpin turns in and out of this place, up and down, to get out of here. And I pass these all the time, but usually at I hesitate to tell you at 35, 40 miles per hour, except for when I have to violently slow the car down to 10 or 15 miles per hour to make the turn. Oh my gosh. Okay. One more photo from this location. Although I guess, no, I wouldn't probably use the photo feature in iPhone to remove the power cables. Although I think it might be wise to keep the power cables there in the photo, because it will remind me of some thoughts that have been occurring to me while I'm down here. By the way, I promise you, I'm going to get to all of those things that I've just shared. One of the reasons why I restarted this is because I realized the last two times that I restarted this, I did not start the episode with what valuable things that I definitely plan to bring into this, such as those insights, some of the technologies and the tools, the apps that I'm going to be using and reviewing, internet access, my experience with it, all that stuff. I am going to be including that. Anyway, one of the things that has occurred to me while I've been here, and if you haven't been following the news in this part of the world, we're getting ready to brace for a significant, massive winter vortex weather pattern that is going to bring snow and ice much further south than people in the South typically deal with. Even up at home, my wife and I live in northern Kentucky, which is about 5 hours north of where I'm at right now. About 5.5 hours north of here, driving distance. And even at home, our average snowfall, like if we're going to have a big snow, it has recently been close to a half an inch, maybe an inch and a half of snow. It has been years, it's been probably close to 30 years since we've had like over a foot of snow or more. Well, just say over a foot of snow, however much over is. It's been that long. And then even before that, it had probably been another 20 years, 15 years before we had another snow that was over a foot. Well, Stephanie, on Sunday, with current forecast, is saying that they may get anywhere between 6, as little as 6, or as much as 18 inches of snow. Now, in our hometown in northern Kentucky, that is massive. And it pretty much will shut everything down. And there'll be winter road closures, and it'll be level 1 emergency traffic only, and and all that stuff. There's also not only going to be snow, but potentially ice accumulations as well, which may bring branches down on power lines, the whole thing. Now, there had been talk earlier in these predictions for weather that stuff could make it all the way down into Tennessee and Georgia. And well, while I think we may not get the brunt of the snow, I think Stephanie and other areas are going to get the brunt of the snow. What we are looking at facing down here, specifically in the area that I am, is potential for ice. And same deal, heavy ice accumulations on trees can definitely produce downed power lines. And the high winds that we'd been experiencing over the past few days, because it went from was 54 and 58 degrees down here when I first got down, and now it's 27 degrees, so there's just massive front came through. And for a few days, there were incredibly high winds. Matter of fact, I love going up to a place called Newfound Gap. Actually, I love going into Kewohee, which is, I've not been to Kewohee since it's been named, or I guess I should say appropriately, renamed Kewohee. But my favorite place, formerly known as Klingman's Dome. Now, I already knew that that's closed from, I think, November through April anyway, due to the winter weather conditions of the roads, and it's just too much to maintain that for public travel. So I already knew that would be closed. But I came down here and I'm like, I want to go up to Newfound Gap. I want to operate my amateur radio up there. And I did that the very first full day that I was here. And as soon as I got to the top of the mountain and everything, I saw a park ranger with his, police-style blue lights flashing, and he was driving very slowly through the parking lot at the Newfound Gap. And I could hear that he was making a loudspeaker announcement through the speaker under his hood to everybody there, and I couldn't hear what he was saying. So I parked my car, and then I walked up to him and asked him what his announcement was, and he says, because of predicted high winds that gusts could be up over 100 miles per hour, we're going to be shutting down the road through the park here in 45 minutes. And so it took me about an hour and 45 minutes to get up there. Anyway, but weather. And so the whole thing that brought that thought on was the power cord in the photo that I just took. Because of the high winds for the last 2 days that I've been down here at the lake house, the electric has flickered off and on, just like long enough for the lights to go completely out and then immediately right back on. And that's probably happened yesterday. Holy crap. Hold on. Listen. Whew. Okay. I don't hear anything more right now. And I don't see anything. I heard something that sounded like a cat, at like a meow kind of thing. I don't want to even dare do that sound. I don't want to attract anything. But there are, I think is it bobcats in this area? So there's black bear in this area. I actually have in my left-hand pocket here a canister, a handheld canister of, what do you call it, bear mace or bear spray? I don't know. It's some sort of liquid with hot peppers or whatever that would blind a bear and make them run away from you or something like that. Never used it before. Haven't ever tested it to see if it works. My parents just keep it in their golf cart in the garage all the time down here, and I figured, that's probably be wise to take this with me. Now, of course, there's a dog that's getting ready to run after me, and he's not on a leash. Hey, buddy. Hi there. No. Hey, buddy. Hi. Go on now. Okay. It's nice to see you. You're a cute dog. Hi. Go away now. Go back home. I'm no danger. Sorry to bother you. Anyway. So that just stopped me in my tracks as he's going to follow me for a little bit. Hey, buddy, you want to go back home, okay? Go back home. Go on. Good boy. Good boy. Go back home. Yes, that's a good boy. All right. Go on. Anyway, fun stuff out here. A little bit of adventure. So, the lights were flickering, and it got me to thinking, well, that's interesting. And it is below freezing and all that stuff. I'm like, I wonder what I would do if we were to lose the electric at the house, or if I lose the electric at the house. The first thing that I did is went and communicated with some of the neighboring homes on the lake here and confirmed that other people were having the same issue. It had already been reported to the local power company so that they were aware of it. And I just wanted to confirm it wasn't just my parents' lake house that was experiencing that. So that's good. The only thing is, though, we may get some ice down here, and that could create a situation. I'm not one who focuses on problems or potential problems. I sometimes become alerted to them in the mind. I become aware of those thoughts and concerns. Sometimes I evaluate whether or not there's a real genuine threat. And then I start to say, okay, well, what's my risk level assessment of my risk tolerance in this scenario? And then I can determine whether or not I am going to make any kind of actions as a result of what I'm perceiving here. And then from there, I'm like, okay, I'm making the decision that I don't think I need to do anything about it. If worst comes to worst, I'm not heading back home before the snowstorm, before the snow and ice. I'm going to understand that I'm scheduled to be here until the 16th of January, which is a whole week and well over a week from the predictive storm. By then, they will have cleaned up most of the situation. Main highways will be cleared up by the time I'm ready to go home. And worst case scenario, sure, there's the possibility I could lose electric at the house here. But I'm inside of a home. It is electric heat, so it's not gas furnace. So there would be no heat in the house. Yes, it's below freezing, but you know what? There's many bedrooms in this home. And every bedroom not only has sheets and blankets on all the beds, there are extra for all of them. There's no limit to how warm I could keep myself under blankets if it were that freezing cold. I have already decided I'm going to go down to Food City and stock up on more eggs if anybody's left any eggs at the store for people like me to get in at the last minute before the storm. But beyond that, I already have plenty of food for the duration of my stay. Oh my goodness, I'm in the shade right now. That dog has not been following me ever since I suggested that he might want to not leave his home too far behind. The sun is shining again on my face. I was in a little area there where I was walking through some shaded area, and I'm getting ready to, when I met the dog and I heard what I thought was a cat sound, could have been somebody's pet cat. I don't suspect that's what I heard. But anyway, I decided to turn around when the dog was my next scenario there, especially given the fact that I will have already finished this episode well before I make it back to the house. given how many times I've restarted this episode, let me just look at my watch and tell you I've already been walking 1.7 miles. So I probably got at least another 1.3 miles back to the house. And this walking, I have blue jeans on. I have my workout shirt on. I have a hoodie on over top of that, and then I have my winter coat. The hood of the hoodie is on and tied up a little bit around my face, and the hood of my winter coat is not on, but the sun is beating on me, and because of all of this walking up this hill, which I'm doing now, I can feel a bit of sweat coming on. So this is incredible for my physical activity today. I'm really excited about this. Anyway, so where was I before I took that picture? Taking the mountains, being in a creative area. I don't know. But I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and get started on some of those things that I promised. Now that I'm 28 minutes into the episode, I'll just take a quick breather here. Actually, you know what? Let me go up to this section over here, because the view is even better up here. So, I've already talked about that. Okay, let me share with you one of the books that I have decided to start reading while I'm down here. I restarted reading The Prosperous Coach by Rich Litvin and Steve Chandler. Okay. Oh my gosh. I just discovered a perfect place to take this photo. I'm going to do a pano, and then I'll tell you about the book and why. Okay. And then I want to take one regular photo. And then I don't think extra wide gives me anything more. No? Okay. So The Prosperous Coach. I decided to start reading The Prosperous Coach again, and I'm actually listening to the audiobook version of it. I own the audiobook, the Kindle book, the hardback version of the book, and I've read The Prosperous Coach probably about 5 different times. But almost all of those, actually 4 of those times, were all back when I was first introduced to it, which I think was 2019, July of 2019, I believe. And oh my gosh, when I was first introduced to this book, it lit a fire underneath me. It completely changed the perspective of how I wanted to market the work that I do. It really helped me understand that you could actually have a prosperous coaching business, and it wouldn't necessarily be required that I do all the things that I was doing at that time to build my business. And what I mean by that is a lot of internet marketing related activities. As a result of getting so excited and wanting to test and implement everything that I was learning from the insights from the book, other materials that I was finding from Rich Litvin that complement it, and then just countless investments made in some of the Rich Litvin products over the months and years ahead, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. And I succeeded in incredible ways, much to the detriment of the benefits that come from the internet marketing, the content marketing, the showing up in social media. I got so heavily invested in proving that you don't need all of those things to succeed financially, that I neglected them for a period of time, for a long period of time. And we're talking a couple of years. I just did the bare minimum of what I felt inspired to do. And not necessarily with any intention of that having any long-term impact on the potential of new clients coming my way. And so I became less and less intentional about the marketing intentions behind what I was doing over the past several years. And I was all about building relationships one person at a time. And that was amazing. And it works. The only thing is that when the pandemic hit, it changed my ability to rub shoulders with people in the events that I was attending and speaking at, where my target audience existed. But I adapted. I had a massive influx in the 6 conferences that I spoke at, including my own, in the summer and fall of 2019. And then that carried me through for quite some time. And then the Clubhouse was a thing. And I was generating massive amounts of new clients. Just showing up and serving people on Clubhouse. It was like a virtual replacement for conferences. It literally was that. And that was great while everybody was locked into their homes around the world. And then when the lockdowns lifted, there became this season where it was a little bit more challenging. Still, I adapted once again, as one does. And I found other ways to use social media and direct messages and stuff like that. But over time, I got to this place where I had this inspired idea, or this idea that came to me that I should create this group coaching program where I help train and teach other people how to master the Prosperous Coach approach, because I had felt like I was gaining a mastery level of the Prosperous Coach approach. And so I was teaching and training these individuals, and one of the things that I did was encourage them to book 100 conversations within 90 days. Not that you necessarily have to have all of those conversations within 90 days, but you'll book 100 within 90 days. So I decided to do this as well. The only thing is I was training and teaching new coaches, and I was not a new coach myself, and I told them not to have filters. And so I actually did and led by example what I was sharing for them to do. Now, several of them did it, and the results were amazing. They all of a sudden started getting paid clients, when that was not the focus. It was not the goal. It was to have the conversations. Well, I also succeeded in having all of the conversations, but I didn't put filters on either, which meant for me, somebody who makes my living from high-ticket coaching and high-level coaching for high-achieving people, I did a ton of coaching. An overwhelming majority of those coaching conversations were people who just basically had no income and were struggling financially. And so I kind of got burned out, quite frankly. And then it was okay because I still had clients coming in. I still had a handful of people coming through some of the content that I have been creating. I still had clients that were working with me. And what is that? I think that's a shadow. All right, let me get back on the road here. Start heading back home. That's not a bear, is it? Is that a bear? Hold on. I think I see a bear. No way. Guys, this is the first time I've ever seen a black bear down here in the area by the lake. That is definitely a black bear. No way. It doesn't, well, of course, yeah, it appears to be big. This is crazy. It's looking at me, and I am going to move on. Let's just keep moving. Oh, this is crazy. All right. I am going to take my hood off of my head so I can see a little bit more. Okay. I saw this black outline in the tree line, and I'm like, that's not a black bear. That's not a bear. No, that's just a tree stump that has been cut down and blah, blah, blah. But when I was coming out of the little wooded area where I'd stopped for a minute, and I looked at that supposed shadow on a tree stump, I noticed that tree stump had popped up ears a little bit, like, and then the tree stump turned to look at me, and I'm like, wait a second, that's a bear. Oh my gosh. Okay, I think I'll be perfectly fine. I don't think these bears are out here looking to maul anyone, so we're all good. Okay. He or she basically just sat there and just turned and looked at me as I walked on by. And looking back, I don't see it following me, so we're good. Oh my goodness. So anyway, the thing is that I kind of left for a while the Prosperous Coach approach to building my business to the side a little bit. Just put it on the back burner and decided to just ride and go with the flow for a little bit. I still had plenty of clients, plenty of income. Things, needs were being met. And then what happened for me personally, just going to take a quick look back. Yeah, we're good. All right. So for me personally, what happened was Stephanie came up with a financial goal that was a $30,000 expense, and I didn't have the extra for that. And she's like, hey, I'd like to have some help creating this. Would you be willing to help me? And I was focusing a bunch of my marketing effort and intention on helping her do that, when she wasn't as, let's just say, aligned with the work that would be required based upon what she wanted to build and the time frame that she wanted to build it. I realized, I probably need to get to work on doing some things myself here. And so I basically began asking myself, what do I want to do financially for client work and marketing moving forward? And one of the things I decided to do was to have a little bit more of a balanced approach. I want to take all of the benefits from all of the things that have worked over the 2 decades of content creation that I've been doing. I would love to continue to create the content that I feel inspired to create. I love to encourage, entertain, educate, motivate, and inspire people through the content that I produce. I'd like to get back to doing that consistently with intentions of how that will likely lead to some of the desired outcomes in the sales of products and services for the profitability of my business. So that's where I began turning the spigot back on, if you will. That's one way of saying it. And that's what I started doing. And I've been back since, gosh, I don't know when it was, but it's been a while. I've been back. I've been very consistent, and that's wonderful. But this content creation, the content marketing side of things, it's not an instant on. Now, thankfully, I have a built-in following, and yes, I've been very blessed to have it's just how God or the universe or whatever you want to call it. I want to leave this open for wherever you are in your journey in life. But it's just amazing how right at the time where it's like, okay, this is an interesting financial scenario I seem to be facing in the business this far into my journey. And then all of a sudden, here comes another $15,000 paid in full client. And then right behind that, 2 weeks later, another $15,000 paid in full client. And I'm like, okay. That takes some pressure off there. That's good. When I mean pressure to get results, not pressure emotionally or stress. Although I must say that there's some temptations to get triggered into some old ways of thinking. What was that? Was that a notification on my phone, or I heard a bell notification? But I don't have anything that would do a bell notification. Definitely no bear following me, which is good. I took a photo, like a zoomed in photo of what I believe to be a bear. I'm going to, it's super high resolution on my iPhone 16 Pro Max. So when I get back in, I'll be able to confirm. I didn't want to sit there and wait around and confirm it. I felt intuitively when I saw the shadow appear to change and shift as a turning head of a big black mammal. I was like, I think that's enough for me to say, hey, let me see if I can slowly move on and confirm that I don't need to pull out this bear spray behind me. Not that I thought that I would. I've been watching on TikTok. I get a lot of Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and Smoky Mountain posts. The algorithm knows that I'm interested in this area. So I see tons of videos on TikTok of bears walking and strolling the streets of Gatlinburg and people within 150 feet of them, and it's just like, dude, I'm just strolling around looking for some food. Don't mind me. And the people seem to be relatively unfazed in these videos. And then, of course, I've seen tons of videos of people at these cabins where bears know how to open up car doors if they're unlocked. Anyway, that's why when I saw it, I'm like, I'm far enough away. And I was probably about 200 feet away from where it was. And I think we're good. Anyway, so I'm going to just say that I decided to read the Prosperous Coach approach because while I am seeing a trickle of clients coming in right at the time that is necessary, to continue to provide the lifestyle that my wife and I have come to enjoy. And I am so blessed and I am filled with gratitude for that. I have a lot of faith and a lot of expectation and beyond faith and expectation, I think those are two. Faith and expectation, trust that will continue. And at the same time, I know that there are things that I can do to bring a deeper level of certainty about those things happening in a more predictable fashion. And while I have a great deal of faith and trust and expectation, I also enjoy a bit of certainty and predictability around certain things. And if it's within my control, it would be my preference. And one of the things that I've learned throughout my journey is that I'm not necessarily attached to outcomes. So my well-being is not attached to the results. However, I have no qualms about having desired results and taking action towards those results. and I can take inspired action, creative action, motive action. I can take massive action and still just trust the process. And when I say trust the process, I'm talking about even results that are less than anticipated. I can roll with that. I can go with the flow. It's one of the reasons why I'm loving this, getting back into a significant investment of my morning routine right now, is just reading some of the reflections of Lao Tzu in the Tao Te Ching. It is that concept of Wu Wei, of being able to adapt and go with the flow of life, of loving what is. And these are the teachings that I grew up with, studying and following the teachings of Jesus, which is, do not worry about tomorrow. And, today's got enough of its own things to concern yourself with. Do the things that you feel that you need to accomplish today, and have faith and trust and stuff like that. And and of course there's the story in the parable about a guy who had way more harvests than he needed, and he said, I know what I'll do. I'll go build extra barns and I'll store up and I'll be able to sit back and relax. And then if you're not familiar with that story, you can go look it up. Those of you who would be triggered by that story, much in the way that I had been many times in my past, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't be so influenced to build all of this wealth and store up for myself so that I could have and all this, and stuff like that. But then I'm reminded of, the story of Joseph, where basically the lineage of Jesus was saved by the fact that Joseph had been given a vision and a dream to interpret the signs of the time, and was seeing that there were tougher times that were ahead, and the course that was inspired was to store up and to create a storehouse and to manage and to be a steward of those stored resources. So anyway, balancing all of those things, right? Anyway, I have decided that I want to get back into reading the Prosperous Coach to see if I can reconnect to whatever might have been at the deeper layers of that, to get me reinvigorated, reignited. I'm going to pause for just a second. I noticed that since I left that bear behind, I have been picking up my pace a bit. Let me just see where I am in my distance now. I'm at 2.38 miles on this walk, and my heart rate's currently at 127 beats per minute. It's not bad. Man, it's beautiful out here. Sun's behind some cloud right now. There was no cloud cover at all before, but now it's behind some cloud cover. I think I'd be okay to put my hood back up over top of my head. Let me do that. Whew. Okay. So, lost an earbud in my ear. Let me put that back in. Get the hoodie out of my eye. All right. Moving along. Anyway, I want to be reinvigorated, reconnected. And one of the things that I do know is this. As soon as I start getting back in to coaching conversations with potential clients, I know that my zone of genius is not something that I have to turn on or off. I know that the environment of coaching another human and helping them in the ways that I help them is just a part of this experience of life that I've been given, and it just comes alive. So I know that once I start getting into a routine of that, it will just start flowing again. The thing is when it starts flowing, this is what I came down here to do. Because I could have just stayed at home, and I could have just, after Christmas, immediately started hunting and gathering, as I call it, instead of planting seeds and continuing to harvest various different seasons. But hunting and gathering, I could have went and just tried to kick in the Prosperous Coach method again and spent all of my available time, effort, and energy into doing that, and ignoring the content creation, showing up in social media, communicating through other methods and means such as emails and newsletters and things like that. And I could have done that to the detriment of not having the benefit of the ongoing steady flow of clients. But at the same time, I'm compelled from within. Here comes a van that's getting ready to go by. Wave. It is Fluid Truck. That's the name. It's I think it actually said Fluid Truck is the brand that's written on the side of it. Anyway. But yeah, one of the things that I recognize is that I want to have a consistency in the content creation marketing that I'm doing, while also a balanced approach of the Prosperous Coach connecting that I do. And I want to get back into reading this book. I'm halfway through it already. It's not a very long book. And so that's something that I've started, and it's already kicked in some insights and reminders of things that have worked in the past that I've been saying I'm going to get around to doing, and during this retreat, I will be implementing on. All right, the other book that I started reading is called The Artist's Way. I was just browsing through. Let me go here. Where is this episode? Okay. So it's Julia Cameron. I've heard a lot of people refer to this book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron, mostly as a result of when I've had conversations around the topic of journaling, which is something that I am committed to doing on a daily basis, and I have been able to do very successfully on a daily basis probably since April of this year. Actually, probably closer back to February of last year. And I've had seasons before then, off and on, but I'm almost to a full year of journaling almost every single day. But anyway, morning pages. Some people have talked about the fact that one of the first things they do every morning is open up 3 pages and just start writing. And they write without stopping. And they do it until they fill 3 pages. And there's this process. Well, I've done similar things, not necessarily morning pages the way that they're describing it, but I've heard so many people talk about it, and I've heard so many people reference this book, and I'm like, I wonder if I should check this book out. And somebody talking about morning pages on YouTube it came up somewhere, and I decided to look it up. I looked at the book, and I'm like, do I want to buy this? Put it on my Kindle and read this while I'm down here. I read a little bit about it. Then I watched a video on YouTube where a girl had done a 30-minute review who was somewhat skeptical of the book and also disagrees with some of its recommendations and said, I didn't even do this exercise, and I didn't like it, and I didn't try this, and blah, 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 blah. And I really found that authentic approach, even though I'm like, okay, fine. I don't think that I would have the same hang up there. But anyway, it was very helpful in making me discern, yeah, I think I want to read this. So I went and bought that, put it on my Kindle, and I've only read the introduction so far. So I'm at the very beginning of it. And based upon the introduction, I can tell already I'm really going to enjoy this book. It is about how to tap into the creative energy that brings everything into existence. Now, what some people, the funny part about this is it's interesting. There are those who might come from a religious background, such as myself, when I'm coming from a Christian background, who would hear this author say, you can, if you don't like the term God, you can call it universe, creative force, energy, you can call it anything you want. And then, and of course, myself, maybe 10 years ago, would have immediately been turned off and like, yeah, this is not the book for me. I don't want to be influenced by anybody who's not going to credit the God that I know to be true exactly the way that I have. Anyway, you get the idea. So, I'm walking past a house right now, and I see that this house here has a generator attached to the outside of their house, and I can see it going into their electric panel. Very smart move, and something definitely to consider down here in the event that my wife and I ever inherit the home that's here. So, the artist's way. But then there's the folks who basically have a disdain for religion. Maybe they've had some incredibly traumatic experiences, and certainly know many people who have told me their stories. And I can completely understand that any mention of God might be in suggesting that you lean into God, no matter what you call God or how you define God or how you perceive God, that would be turned off. And so it's like, okay, this book, yet the fact that it calls itself a spiritual path to find your creativity, to be an artist in the world, to be a creator in the world. And one of the things that I understand about the book, I don't necessarily look to completely change my focus of what I do for a living and become a painter or an artist, like the painting and music or whatever. I recognize that it was originally written with those people in mind who had blocks in their creativity. But the reality is we are all creators. We are all artists. And I do feel this book is going to have a powerful message. I just sense it. It's that inner guidance from within that led me to this book and making the decision to purchase it. And the introduction seems to align with that. Okay, that van that I told you about earlier. Yeah, it does say fluid truck. And he's pulling out. He might be a water delivery service. Stephanie and I have water that is delivered in 5-gallon bottles of spring water from Ice Mountain, and that might be what he is. Anyway, so I'm reading that book. Now, I'm almost back to the lake house. Let me see here. My inspiration list. So what I will do is I will share with you what's on my inspiration list so far. Inspired ideas. The first one is I've discerned that I want to create a process and routine and just make it a part of my natural way of doing what I do, where I create a routine where I can use the Just Press Record app to convert inspired ideas and insights into my journal and or daily activities. So the other night, I was driving up into the mountains. And when I was driving up into the mountains, I was listening to the audiobook of the Prosperous Coach. I'm like, oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do this. Oh, I want to do a journal entry on this topic and reflect on it. And oh, I want to do this. And I'm driving. And I recognize that I'm going to be in the car for several hours, up to 2 hours to get up to the mountain, up to 2 hours back, and I won't remember all of this. So what I decided to do, I was like, I've got that Just Press Record app on my Apple Watch. And Just Press Record, it's a one-time purchase app. I don't even remember how much it was, but it's not expensive. I just press a little button on my watch face. I have the Apple Watch Ultra, the first one, and it has an incredible microphone on it. And all I do is just sit there and talk. I don't have to hold the watch up to my face. I just talk, and it records it. And then I just tap it and to stop. And then that is, as soon as I open up my phone, it's instantly transferring all of those recordings into the Just Press Record app. And the audio recording, by the way, is also in my Apple iCloud drive. So it's instantly there. The other thing that I love about it is inside of the Just Press Record app, it transcribes that audio file as well. And so most of these are not for me to listen to later as much as it is what I said. I just take the transcript, copy it, and paste it into my journal, and I begin journaling about it. Or I paste it onto an inspired idea list, such as the one I'm telling you about, or a to-do list, an action that I want to accomplish. Hey, reach out to so-and-so who just had another cancer treatment. That's on my list today. So, Just Press Record. Now, I do recognize that there are other methods that I could potentially use that would be more automated and would require less manual process. But I don't necessarily think that what I just described to you is a burden. So I don't necessarily feel that it would be a valuable use of my time to research other methods of me recording my voice on my watch and having it automated in such a way that it goes to a to-do item or this or that. It's just not required for me. So that's one thing that I've got on my inspired idea. I do want to create whatever that process is. And it would go on my, I hesitate to say to-do list, but my habit tracking list. But I'm going to talk about the fact that, let's see here. It's way further down. I'll go ahead and talk about it now, though. I have a desire to research a different habit tracking tool. I don't want to use a to-do list. If I was going to use a to-do list, I would move back to what's called the Todoist app. But I don't want to use the Todoist app to track my regular daily and or weekly or monthly commitments. I want to use a habit tracking app because then there's sometimes a little bit more of a graphic interface to it, a visual representation. I can easily look at a calendar monthly view or a weekly view and see where I stand with what I actually said I wanted to do and what I did. There's a little bit more of a graphical representation, whereas Todoist, in my opinion, is more along the line of it's here and you mark it off your list and then it's gone. And while you can go and see things, there are other tools I think that are more aligned with how I want to track the habits or routines related to my business activities. Okay, so I currently already use an app called Habit Share. And I'm pretty sure you can find it at habitshareapp.com. Now, this app I've been using for many years. I'm going to take another pause here, just walked up another hill. Man, it's beautiful. Yeah. I am so glad I went out for this walk today. And of course, walking and talking takes the physical activity of it level to a good level. So I can go ahead and mark off meditation and that. So my Habit Share app. I want to continue to use my Habit Share app and its user interface, and I want to limit it to what I would consider my personal, physical, mental, and psychological self-care and well-being style habits. To give you a description of what I'm talking about, I'm using this app to only track these routines right now. Did I wake up at 5 a.m. every morning, 7 days a week? That is my commitment right now. Previously, I was in my last season of waking up early. I had started waking up at 5:30 in the morning again. Been doing that for a couple months now. And I was not doing it on Saturday and Sunday. But when I came down here, I'm like, hey, I'm going to break out of old patterns. I'm going to establish new. And I've been going to bed between 8 p.m. and 9 p.m. since I've been on this personal creative working retreat. And I've been getting up at 5 a.m. So that is, I changed it from 5:30 to 5 a.m. And it's 7 days a week instead of Monday through Friday. I figure let's just get my body into a rhythm, into a routine, and let's establish it, and let's just keep it. And these typically work for me until there's something significant that happens, such as a daylight savings change, and or if there happens to be a physical ailment or illness, and or some big trip where travel gets in the way of it, and late night networking and stuff like that. But I will approach all of those scenarios if and when any of those ever come up. But for right now, my commitment is that, and I want to track it every day in my Habit Share app. So keto lifestyle. This is something that I have found works for me. I'm not necessarily recommending the ketogenic diet or lifestyle to anyone else. I'm happy to discuss it with anybody who asks me questions about it, but it's not something that I'm proselytizing. But I will tell you that I know from my own experience the lengthy amount of times, and there was a season where I'd say I was on the ketogenic lifestyle for 2.5 years without breaking that streak. And I had never felt better in my life than I did during that time. And how one can go and have all of that experience and know it, and then, well, I could talk to you and share with you how that happened during the pandemic. But anyway, it's not what the topic of this is. But ketogenic lifestyle. Did I stay in a ketogenic lifestyle? One of the clarities that I've had this time is like, I want to stay on keto. I don't want to carb cycle once a month or anything like that anymore. I mean, I'm not saying that I have to be perfect, but my intention is just to stay on keto. And also, I have decided this time to limit my net carb intake to 20 net carbs. Previously, I would allow myself 30 net carbs. This time, I'm going to 20 net carbs. And that is 7 days a week all the time. Meditation, let's see here, every day. And meditation for me can be a number of different things. It could be a silent, no thought meditation, sitting in a meditation posture and just being. Another one could be a time of reflection and just being filled with gratitude and being thankful and listening to the sounds of the birds and being in nature and just relaxing. It could be a walking meditation through the woods. It could be a journaling experience. It could be taking a nap and doing yoga nidra. It could be doing a bunch of different things. So meditation on a daily basis. By the way, today was my 1046th day of consecutive meditation. Let's see here. Reading and studying for personal and professional growth. I do that every day. Today was my 369th day streak on that one. Journaling every day. Today was 284th day streak. And working out day today, daily. Today is my 217th consecutive day of working out. So, and of course, keto lifestyle, what's that been? Well, I'm on a 6-day streak now, and waking up at 5 a.m. is a 5-day streak now. And all of those are green from the dates that I made the decision to start them. So I'm using the Habit Share app for that. Now, I have another app. Let me just look for it here. It's called Habit. What is this app called? Can I hit Share app? There we go. Copy link. And let me just go into Safari here. And here we go. It's called Habit Tracker by Dave. Well, gosh, it just changed. Dave Tech, I think, is the name of the app. Yeah, Dave Tech Co. Limited. So it's just called Habit Tracker. And it has a pretty decent aesthetic appeal to it. And I use this for my personal tracking. And one of the things that I like about this is you can have certain habits where your habit is to do a certain number of things. Like, I want to have at least 5 social media or email interactions with a potential client or somebody that could be a possible client. Not necessarily that I see everyone as one, but I want to have at least 5 conversations with people where I can ask myself, is this somebody that God's brought along my path who could benefit from what I have to offer? And can I be curious enough to ask the questions that might lead to my understanding of whether or not that's the case? I mean, that's the connecting part of it. So I've used that particular app for that purpose exactly in the past. I'm like, I want at least 5 of these per day every day. And is there something coming? No. I thought I heard a car. But it's this house that's being built on the street up here. I'm almost back to our lake house. And then I'm going to go back to the back and sit on the back porch and overlook the lake and look at Lake Douglas and English Mountain while I wrap up this episode with you. I need to plug the Starlink back in when I get back down there, and I'll talk to you about the Starlink app. If you want to continue to listen, we're already at 1 hour and 14 minutes. But this is a lengthier episode. One of the things, for those of you who are listening to the Cliff Ravenscraft show, the Train with Cliff audio journal, there's no set format. Some days I might be in my studio with my nice getup. Sometimes I may have an outline of things I'm going to say. Sometimes I just completely unscripted. And this is a little bit of both. This one is mostly unscripted, but I do have a list of things that I want to share. Anyway, so I'm thinking about using that Habit Share app, or not Habit Share, but that Habit Tracker app by Dave Tech. But there's some other ones that I'm going to evaluate, and let me see if I can find out what those are. Oh, it's in a different, I think it's in my today document. So it says, this came from a suggestion of ChatGPT. ChatGPT suggested I look at the Habitica app, a gamified habit tracker that turns your goals into a role-playing game. Great if you enjoy adding fun and rewards to your progress. I think I might like that. The Streaks app, I've heard about this app. A clean and simple app designed for tracking habits and measuring streaks, perfect for Apple users who value intuitive interface. There's Tick, a versatile app that combines habit tracking with task management, which is exactly what I'm actually doing, allowing you to integrate habits into your broader to-do list. I don't know about integrating into my broader to-do list, but anyway, there's an app, number 4 here. It says Habit Bowl, a detailed habit tracker with options for charts, streaks, and reminders. It offers a lot of customization and supports tracking multiple habits. And then number 5, Loop, L-O-O-P, Habit Tracker, a free and open source habit tracker for Android with a minimalist design. Well, I'm not an Android user, so that one's out for me. So that is something that I am looking to do. and I want it separate from my personal self-care, because I want my morning routine, my 5 to 9. That ideally, I would love to have all the habits and routines tracked and all green between the hours of 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. That is my habit share app, and that's what I intend to be committed to. Then the rest would be from my 9 to 5, typically Monday through Friday, but 9 to 5. These are the routines and the daily stuff that I'm committing to. Now, I've already been tracking or created some habits that I'm committing myself to doing on the content side of things. I've been fairly consistent in doing those things. I will say that the first week, and I guess you could technically say week and a half. Hold on. I'm going to go in here and plug this Starlink Mini back in. There we go. And now I will sit on this back deck. No, not back deck. What do you call this? This patio. And I could start a fire. Anyway, I don't think I'm going to start a fire right now. But wow, that was a good walk. Oh, let me stop my workout on my watch. So, I did a 5K walk today. I walked 3.14 miles, and it was an hour and 44 minutes. So let me just swipe. Can I swipe this thing? There we go. And okay, the workout has ended. I need my phone so I can finish telling you what's on my thing. So anyway, I want to use a habit tracking software, and potentially something that's aesthetically pleasing and something that's different than just having a bunch of non-scheduled time. Like I've got all these, like I need to record the Cliff Ravenscraft show on my Google Calendar. Well, I don't have to do that at a very specific time. That could be, I could look at my day and plan my day and say, okay, today I am committed to doing the Cliff Ravenscraft show, but what time am I committed to doing it? Right now, it actually has a time associated with it. Or in some cases, some of those committed seed planting actions, such as write an email to my email newsletter or create a social media story post on Instagram/Facebook. Those kinds of things are listed as all-day items that are free, so they don't block my calendar. But it's like, I don't want all of that clutter in my Google Calendar. When I look at my Google Calendar, I want to be able to look at it and it's like, oh, these are the things that are scheduled today. And I know that I don't currently believe that I want to use a to-do list or task list manager. If I want to do that, I will go back to Todoist. It is the app of choice for me for that purpose. I'm looking to avoid that. So anyway, let me go back to my inspired ideas. And one of the things that I had come out of a conversation with Stephanie with, and not insight, is I'm going to create, once I've got the right tool for the job, I'm going to create something that reminds me once a week to answer a couple of journal prompts about the reflection of that week. And that will not only have me reflect on the week before, but also the week ahead. And I think Stephanie is suggesting that we might do that together and that we would do that on Sundays. So I like that idea. The other thing is I also want to set a tracking that will remind me. And again, I want to do it through this whatever habit tracking app that I use. I wanted to say, oh, hey, it's time once again for your end of the month reflections. And the reflections are going to be journal prompts to ask me about the month and this. And I will have journal prompts for specific areas of my life as well. And so I want to create an entire structured schedule of reflection journal prompts. That's something that I am going to implement. And a lot of this I may be implementing in the remainder of the second week and into my third week. Okay, the next one is and here's what was missing on my seed planting strategy before. It was like I'm very heavy on content creation. I'm very heavy on being out there and connecting with people and attending events or being on podcast interviews and all of these other things. But I want to actually get back into some of the 3 main areas of the Prosperous Coach method. And so these were the inspired ideas. I want to set a minimum target for the number of emails or social connections. That's direct messages, private messages, whatever you want to call them in social media. So emails, exchanges, or just conversations. It could be text messages. It could be phone calls if I don't do phone calls very often, but they could be. But anyway, short little connections with people. I want to have at least 5 of those per day, and those will be Monday through Friday. And then I want to set a minimum target for connect calls. And right now, my first gut feeling is that should be at least 4 calls per week. And I haven't decided if those will be 20-minute calls or 30-minute calls, but I intend for those to be very structured as far as their intent and who I invite and what the purpose is. And it will be clearly communicated to anybody that I invite into them. The next one is I want to set a minimum target for the number of complimentary one-on-one coaching sessions that I do. And that I have determined, I really believe right now it needs to be 4 per week. And if I do 4 per week, that's, let's see here, that would be 4 and 8. That would net me between 3 to 5 new clients every month. Now, I could keep my standard of I only work with paid and full clients. I'm going to evaluate whether or not, given a certain person that I might be working with, whether or not that an option other than paid in full will be there. I'm open to being more creative, to working with people where they currently are, in certain cases. And so I'm evaluating. But anyway, what I am committed to is I need to get this seed planting strategy modified in such a way that I'm not only creating all this content that I feel compelled to create and that will be valuable for ongoing, keeping the consistency in email marketing, keeping all of those other things, attending events, speaking at events, all that stuff, keeping all that going, but not neglecting the Prosperous Coach approach, these conversations with people on a consistent, ongoing basis. And I don't want to just go into these and neglect the other stuff. And so the question is how can I create enough margin in my day and in my life that I'm able to do all of these things and not burn out? And a lot of that has to do with eliminating a bit of distraction and eliminating some other things that don't necessarily produce any results, and they rob me of I piddle away opportunities on doing things that are not done consciously. Meaning that, it's like, I don't have any, if you were to ask me why I'm doing this, I think I'm just trying to avoid, I'm just trying to avoid doing other work right now. And sometimes I'm trying to avoid that work because I haven't decided if that work's really all that important to me. And so the whole reason of coming down here is to really ask myself, what am I committed to? And am I committed to it? If I'm not committed to it, why am I not committed to it? And if I'm not committed to it, then why be obligated to it? And these are the kinds of things that this is helping me through when I'm down here. The next one is I will develop an engaging list of questions to use during connect and reconnect conversations. Asking people, what is your next big challenge that you're going after? What is an obstacle that you're currently facing right now? What is it that you want to create that's not currently a part of your life? I want to create those and a number of other questions that I could actually use when I'm engaging with people. One of the things that I'm contemplating is, how do I actually do networking calls? And do I do networking calls? And one of the things that's mentioned in the Prosperous Coach book is you shouldn't attend networking. You don't need to attend networking events, and you don't do this and blah, blah, blah. And yet I see Rich doing a lot of things today that back then, he didn't do, but he wrote in his book. So Yeah, I'm definitely interested in maybe improving my networking game. I tend to be the type of person that if I could just get in a conversation with you, and if you're somebody who could benefit from who I am and what I do, it just flows. But if I go into a room where somebody is looking to sell me something and I'm looking to potentially sell them something, those scenarios have not been my favorite places to be. The only place that I've been, and it was back in my insurance days, and I should consider whether or not BNI is something that I would be even interested in. I don't know that I have enough local connections to make it a lot of sense. But in BNI, we would refer people to each other, and it's not necessarily one-to-one. It's just like, am I contributing to the group as a whole, bringing referrals here? Anyway, we'll see. Let's see here. I will refine my marketing message and my value proposition. One of the things that I've noticed a lot lately is that I had gotten I'd painted myself into this little branded hole of I help people who are aspiring coaches learn how to master the Prosperous Coach approach. And I definitely know how to make that happen, and I know how to make it work. The struggle that I've faced is that a lot of those people are not my ideal clients for the level of work that I'm able to do when it comes to the level of income that my value that could come in from the value that I bring to the right clients. And when I've got somebody who, is trying to figure out how do I book coaching clients, and they're currently struggling to ask for more than $50 an hour, and they currently have no paid clients, and they're currently working 2 jobs, there's nothing wrong with those people, and I love those people, and I definitely can help those people, but very few of those people are going to be able to financially invest at the level of what makes a lot of sense on the profit margin side of my time, effort, and energy. And I have a lot of things that I want to put my time, effort, and energy into, and I want to use my leveraged abilities to work with people who can truly benefit. Also, benefit like on a profitable way. Like what I've done for them is like to pay me $15,000 paid in full for a year of one-on-one coaching or a mastermind membership or something. It's like, dude, I got more than that value out of a single conversation with you. So those are the kinds of things that I'm looking at. The other thing is that a lot of people have been coming to me for very specific technical things. Cliff, can you teach me how to build this? Can you had another guy, it's like, listen, I launched a podcast and I just want to ask you a bunch of technical stuff related to podcasts. I said, well, I don't technically do that work today, but let me tell you who I am and what I do. And if you're willing to, I'll answer your technical questions, but as long as you've got some of these things and I'm able to help you with that, that would be interesting to me. And I shared with him, he's like, dude, okay, sign me up. So he paid me $15,000 in full, and we just wrapped up. We had 1 year of coaching, 1 90-minute session a month. And for the first 6 months, our conversation was mostly around the technical aspects around podcasting. We finally got into some pretty good stuff into his bigger scheme of things. Anyway, I wrote down here in my inspired ideas, many people seek technical advice and business strategies, yet true transformation goes deeper. It's not just about knowing what to do. It's about understanding why you want to do it and how to take consistent action. I help individuals discern their true desires, uncover what truly is driving them, and help them build a life that is aligned, and a business that's aligned with their authentic goals. When this alignment happens, the motivation switch activates, momentum begins to build, and my clients discover the power of effortless action. This is who I am. This is what I do at the deepest core. It is unbelievable when I help people find out that most of their goals, what they're going after, is not what their heart truly desires. It's not an authentic goal to them. They have been brainwashed
by so many other people's ideas that they have started to carry on a belief that success in life equals this. And when they look, what they fail to do is to look at the lives of those who espouse that definition of success, and which, by the way, is an authentic alignment for them. But when they evaluate what it took those people to get where they are, regardless of what they might say of how easy it is, well, it didn't become that clear of how easy it is immediately for them either. And they had to overcome a lot of things. And it's like, well, is this something that you're willing to invest the next 10, 15 years of your life into? What's your level of risk tolerance? Are you willing to fail this many times? Are you willing, it's like, the three words I like to ask, at what cost are you willing to pay to achieve this outcome? And the number of people who is like their heart's just not in it. And I love helping people find their authentic desire and what they truly want to create, and find out what their values are, and not what they believe their values should be, but what is truly inside of them. The next thing I wrote here is I help my clients shift how they perceive themselves and the world around them, leading to lasting transformations in their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors. I help clients dismantle their unconscious limiting beliefs, behaviors, and emotional patterns, empowering them to achieve transformative outcomes they never thought possible. And I've also often talked about the fact that I help people break free from their limiting beliefs. What most people don't understand is that we all have limiting beliefs. I have limiting beliefs. Tony Robbins has unlimiting beliefs. That practically every human on this planet has some sort of limiting belief, because there really is this unlimited source of what's possible, and anything that we do to limit our creative ideas and our fears, and there's so many things that we are not consciously aware of, the fear that underlies our procrastination, our putting off the actions and the things that we're addicted to, the things that we have a hard time kicking the habit or whatever. There's so much fear, there's so many limiting beliefs, and we're unconscious of a majority of why it is that we do what we do. And so one of the things that I help people do is see things from a different perspective. Matter of fact, I wrote this. Where is it? Here it is. I help clients bridge the gap between their current... Where's the other one? Here it is. I show my clients what they are not able to see themselves, and I say to my clients what no one else will dare to say to them. Another way of saying that is I help clients see their blind spots, and I deliver honest feedback that others would hesitate to share with them. Now, this makes some people a little uncomfortable. If you've ever seen some of my testimonials, my clients will tell you with a little bit of grimace in their face and in the tone of their voice. They're like, it's not always comfortable to have a conversation with Cliff, but man, is it worth it. So yeah, I really call people out on it. And the thing is I have people in my life that call me out on mine. And we all need that. We need somebody who can help us see from outside of our own way of perceiving ourselves in the world. Anyway, I help clients bridge the gap between their current reality and their desired future. And I do help people implement strategies, tools, techniques that accelerate their personal and professional growth and help them achieve their goals. Anyway, I'm going to continue to expand on that list, because I want to make sure that when I'm working with somebody and I'm connecting with someone, that I don't get, I can teach you about the Prosperous Coach method. I can teach you about how to get that podcast started. Hey, I can teach you how to create a CRM inside of Notion. Hey, I can teach you how to do that. And these are the things that they're like, tons of people is like, oh yeah, I'd love to jump on a call. And I may use some of those things to build the bridge to get to know someone and then ask them these powerful questions. I'm working all of that out. One of the things that I have written down here is that I'm intending to invest in hiring help to get me in front of audiences that would be something that they do professionally. And that's all I want to say. I don't want to talk about what that looks like just yet. I will say more about that in some point in the future. But yeah, I'm definitely looking at investing in having somebody do the work necessary to get me in the right places at the right time in front of the right people. Let's see here. I will actively seek opportunities to be coached and invest in my own professional development throughout 2025 and beyond. And I will work with Stephanie to create a more focused financial plan, increasing our savings, our investments, and also on the increasing the investments from the business side into our personal retirements. These are the kind of creative ideas that have been flowing since I've been down here that I plan to implement right away. And then let me look at my list here. I think I've almost got everything. So my workouts, I don't think I need to talk about any more there. Internet access. Actually, let me just share with you my to-do list. So it is Saturday, and technically I could just say, it's Saturday, it's the weekend, I'm just going to take the weekend off. The reality is, though, is that this week I've kind of just let a few things a little bit, I was a bit more flexible in some of my things. It's still been kind of the holiday season a bit. I am out here and I've had the opportunity just to enjoy the nature and stuff like that. So one of the things I want to get this, let me just share with you what I've got here. I have a client who I've worked with for 2 full years of one-on-one coaching. We've had 2 1-year coaching contracts, and this past year we did not have a coaching contract. We've still maintained our relationship and have touched base, and she's come out to visit when she was in the area, or we went out to lunch when she was in the area with her family. But she reached out back in September and said, by the end of the year, by January, I definitely want to reinvest into another year of one-on-one coaching with you. And so we just confirmed that. And one of the things that I want to do by the end of today is I want to set up that agreement and get that sent over to her. She's already scheduled for her first call in January here, which is great. I have a friend of mine who just recently had his 4th cancer treatment, and I want to reach out to him. I had somebody that's in my Prosperous Coach method for creating clients who thought he was hiring me, who thought I was pursuing him as a potential client to help him go from $1 million a year to $2 million a year in revenue in his business. And through our first complimentary coaching conversations, I asked him some powerful questions, asked him to reflect on some things. And one of the things that he's determined is, after having some conversations with his wife and reflecting on some of the powerful, big questions that I asked him, he's like, dude, Cliff, I can't thank you enough. I've gotten so much clarity, had these conversations. I just came to realize we have an incredibly amazing lifestyle. There's no need for us to go from $1 million a year to $2 million a year. And we have found a completely different way to get everything that I told you that I wanted. And the thing is he couldn't see the other opportunities until we had this conversation. And so he's like, hey, since I no longer want to go from $1 million to $2 million a year, I don't want to waste your time. Thanks for your help and blah, blah, blah. Have a good year. And it's like, wait a second. So is he saying he doesn't want to? Because we actually have a scheduled second call, and it was basically, the language was like, hey, thanks, man. Talk to you soon, or hope to catch up with you another time, which insinuates, without him actually saying, I'd like to cancel our second session. I don't need it. But that's the thing. It's like my thing isn't to help you go from 1 million to 2 million a year. But that's not what I do. I can help you get clarity. I can help you discern and flesh things out. I can give you ideas and strategies and tools that you can go and figure out how to do things that you might not be able to figure out on your own. I've been around a lot of people who've done a lot of things. I know a lot of strategies. The only thing is, though, is that it's like, listen, it's like, whoa, do you realize? I haven't talked to this person about this yet, but do you know this person was ready to go all in on everything that might have been, in his mind, needed to go into an over-aggressive, like massive campaign to hire people to do this, to invest in this, to do this, just so that he could grow his business from 1 million to 2 million, so that he could accomplish this relatively very easy goal. And I didn't have, it's like, listen, look, I gave him strategies and tools and actions to take if this, but I also gave him some reflective thoughts to items to have conversations with his wife about and to talk about. And through that, he's like, hey, because of our conversation, I know it was because of our conversation, he now is going to get what he wants and still have the margin and freedom and flexibility and in his own language, the fun of operating a $1 million a year business. I mean, he's already able to invest. He's already going to be taken care of into retirement. It's like, Cliff, thank you. It's like, I don't need your help anymore. And one of the things that this individual had told me in the pre-coaching questionnaire before the first complimentary session was, I feel like I just need somebody to bounce ideas off of, because I just feel like every day I'm just shooting from the hip, and I just go after things. I hear things, I go and do it, and sometimes I think I could benefit from having a team around me. I've been full-time self-employed for so many years now, and I just feel like I'm all alone. And one conversation with me had this radical transformation, one shift. And it's like, so one of the things that's on my list to do is to not try to convince him that he needs me, but to say, hey, it sounds to me like what you're saying is that you want our call that is scheduled this coming Thursday, that you don't want to continue with that call. And I've got to find a way to say, hey, I'm totally fine with that. There is no expectation. There's never been any obligation. But also, what value might be found in keeping our second call, and to celebrate the clarity and the decision that you've made, and to talk about how you could continue to have fun in your business and surround yourself with like-minded people who can be that bouncing board of ideas and who could continue to have the kind of conversations that you and I had. Anyway, that's what I need to do for this individual. It's on my list to do today. I'm going to research habit tracking software for my seed planting commitments. I don't know if that'll necessarily get done today or not, but it's on my list for the next things to do. And then there's a journal entry on thoughts on wealth building, which could be an incredibly powerful piece of content, maybe podcast episodes or blogs, email newsletter, or all of the above. Certainly, I've been listening to a lot of content lately of people who talk about building wealth, buying businesses, being an owner versus an earner, and all of these different things. And I hear all of these grandiose things. And of course, quite frankly, I see a lot of people out there in the world that is like, just, this is my adopted philosophy. I want to do this. I want to have all of these millions by the time I'm whatever age, and I blah, blah, blah. And I found myself like, is that what I want? And I also, as I hear them tell stories, I'm like, yeah, that sounds great and all. Where do you balance that with the fact that I kind of enjoy the work that I do? What if I enjoy earning? What if I enjoy this? What if I don't want to do this? There was this one interview with somebody that basically says, okay, make a list of all your skills, talents, and abilities. All right, so write down all your skills. All right, now what you need to be committed to is taking those skills and answering this question: What can I do with these skills to earn the most amount of money humanly possible? And go do that. And when you figure that out, then you realize that, wait a second, you're working with the wrong people. You need to be evaluating the net worth and the net profitability and the annual revenue of the people you're working with, determine where the biggest leverage of getting the most amount of money is, and blah, 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 and all this other stuff. And don't get me wrong, I think there's a lot of value in being a little bit more discerning in certain areas, and also thinking about how can I get paid not just per contract, but how can I take my skills and abilities to a company that has lots of margin, lots of profit, lots of revenue, where I could say, hey, I can help you. I've got some skills that could help you increase this. How about we come to some sort of deal or agreement where I get paid a percentage of such and such, and learning some of those skills and arts and things like that. I'm looking into studying some of that, but also, do I want to go all in on what I see so many people going in on? And it's like, I just want to be all about building wealth. One person, I've heard this story mentioned by a couple of different people about a guy who basically made, very low income relatively to the average audience or average guest that's on this podcast. And certainly relative to the two people that were talking on the podcast. And the idea was this guy had almost no income, but when he died, he had $8 million in his bank, and he was a UPS driver. And it's like, how is that possible? And how can you do that too? And it's like, well, this guy scrimped and staved and he invested everything he could and blah, 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 blah. Now the question is, did that guy, there's more, I want to know more to that story. It's like, that story's fine and all. It's like, okay, I understand the value of compounding interest, and a guy who has very little income can put a percentage in and invest that all that way. But what was his life like? I want to hear more about that. There's so many thoughts, so many ideas, and also confronting my own unconscious beliefs about money. These are things that I'm working on evaluating. And so one of the things is to process my journal on that, and that journal entry is already, it is a doozy, and it's incredibly powerful, and it's a lot of fun. And then go ahead and plant some seeds, create some content, and work on my inspired ideas list. Start implementing. Those are things that are on my list today. And then I have shared that with you, my today list. I've shared the current client who's come back. One of the things that I did here the other day, or just yesterday, I recorded a little Instagram/Facebook, these little 60-second story video updates, and they go into what's called a story, not shorts, but a story. And so I said, hey, I'm out here at the lake house in the Tennessee. I'm on this retreat. This is what I'm up to. This is what I've done. Oh, by the way, before I go back, I'm looking for one person who would be interested in either coming over here, up here, down here to the Smoky Mountains and spending a day with me. If you're interested in that, a day of mentoring with me, reach out to me. Send me a DM. Well, today I had a gentleman who reached out. I didn't mention any price or anything like that. I did in a podcast episode, I think somewhere before I came down here. It might have been in the last episode of the Cliff Ravenscraft show. But anyway, I had a gentleman reach out to me and says, hey, here's a picture of my house down in the mountains about an hour and a half south of you, or about an hour and a half away from you. And I'd be willing to exchange a week at my house in this mountain area for a couple of hours with you. And I clicked on the house listing that he had of his vacation home, and it's beautiful, it's gorgeous, it's in the mountains, it's stunning. But quite frankly, it is absolutely no more or any less than what I'm actually experiencing right here, right now. My parents' house on this lake is a significant home in the mountain area. I mean, the gorgeous views here are stunning, and it's absolutely everything. And also, I've worked with a number of clients that if I want to, I can go to Colorado and stay in multi-million-dollar mansions
for free. If I want to go out to Oklahoma or various other places, there's a number of places where clients and peers and friends of mine own vacation homes, cabins, homes on lakes, that said, hey, anytime you want. Matter of fact, I have a friend of mine who has cabins, off-grid cabins in the wilderness of Michigan and Alaska. And he has a YouTube channel with well over 1 million subscribers. And I've got offers I've all these places I can go to for free. And so I did write back. I said, hey, I really very much appreciate your very generous offer of this exchange. Given the fact that I have access to so many different places I already can stay, I don't typically take these offers. However, I have made a goal of having 1 day of mentoring with somebody while I'm down here on this trip. And I return back on January 16th to Northern Kentucky. But I do have a day of mentoring with me for $5,000. If you're interested in this opportunity, I'd be happy to discuss further. And I asked him 2 questions, like how did you come to find my work, and how long ago was that? And what would you most want to accomplish and achieve from our time together? And I sent that to him before I left for my walk. And I think I may have a response from him, so we'll see. But those are the kind of things that are going on here. And the last thing that I have is my internet resources. So my parents' house here on Lake Douglas, when they bought it I'd say probably about 15 years ago, I think. It's been well over a decade ago. When we first came out here, there was hardly a cell signal. I mean, maybe an edge cell signal if you stood at exactly the right spot. Matter of fact, of course, the sun is finally breaking back out again, but I'm going to go inside the house. The Starlink is plugged in. Get this earbud back in my ear. But my fingers are freezing. I'm going in the house now. So let's open this up. Close that. Anyway, so over the years, cell coverage around the lake has improved drastically. So much so that I'm a T-Mobile user, which typically T-Mobile isn't the greatest coverage area. They're much better today, especially after merging with Sprint. But anywhere here at the lake house on this property, I'm able to get a solid 5G connection. And I have the ability to tether my internet access to my computer. The only thing is that it's limited to 5 gigabytes of hotspot data. And given the fact that this is a personal, creative, remember the word working retreat, I'm like, I browse through, I get through 5 gigabytes of data within probably 3 hours of certain types of work. So, or maybe 3 to 5 hours. So, hosting a mastermind call on Zoom with many people, hosting a Zoom, that's every week for 3 weeks, hosting a weekly group coaching call with many people once a week for 3 weeks. What is this thing? Oh, I've got the hoodie tied around my neck. That's why it won't come off. There we go. Let me pull this hoodie off here. Hold on one second. And then basically, just to say that I burn through my data. And once my data has reached 5 gigabytes of hotspot, my hotspot speed is reduced to 600 kilobytes, which is basically no internet. and so I'm like, okay. Now, I could still I have unlimited data on my iPhone itself. Now, one of the things that has occurred to me, and I am willing to pursue if needed, if necessary, and that is the fact that I could just operate a Zoom call right from my iPhone. I have a tripod. I have a smartphone holder on it. I can put my iPad in or iPhone in it. I could set it up, and I could do a Zoom call right from my iPhone 16 Pro Max iPhone. Matter of fact, it's got amazing sound isolation and stuff like this. The sound quality of the mics that are built into it are amazing. Video quality is amazing. Camera's amazing. All of that's amazing. I don't know what it would be like, and it's been a long time since I've done a Zoom call on my iPhone with multiple people, but I want to make sure that in a group setting I can see all the people. That will be important for me. Anyway, that's going to be what I have to do. Now, I did recently get a thing that says, hey, you are at 48 of 50 gigabytes for your plan. Now, you have unlimited data. However, based upon our contract, if you find yourself in a congested area, you may find that your data speeds are reduced. So within, and I'm probably another gigabyte closer to that. I'll probably hit that 50 today. So the one thing that I'm asking myself is, I don't think I'm going to run into a congested setup here. So once it hits 50 gigabytes, and if it's still giving me, because I have a good 5G connection here, it's about 200 megabits per second. Let me do it and test here real quick. It'll push me over my 50 probably by doing a speed test, but that's okay. Go in here and do speed test. And I'm going to just do it right here in the kitchen. It's connecting. 27 megabits per, or 27 milliseconds on that. Okay. So I'm currently getting 630 megabits per second down. So as high as 630. And then I'm getting 24 megabits per second upload. So way more than sufficient 5G connection. Now that's going to give me solid Zoom calls. Now I definitely need this for a coaching call with a paid client on Tuesday. That is going to be absolutely essential. And that's going to be what I have to use is my iPhone for that call, because I actually purchased a Starlink Mini. And this is the satellite company owned by Elon Musk. And it's pretty amazing, quite frankly. I've found a place on our property here that has a unobstructed view of the sky. And it basically is close enough to the house that its built-in Wi-Fi reaches right into where I need it to reach inside of the house. And it works for me to be able to do a live stream like I did a live stream on the back deck of the house here the other day. And it worked I think I did it just over an hour, and it got pixelated at times. So there is one little edge of the house that blocks one little access to some view of a satellite in a very specific scenario. So maybe once every 7 or 8 or 15 minutes, it might just slowly degrade, just barely a little bit. Not that big of a deal. I watched the replay of the live stream I did. It's not what I would prefer. It's okay. I would much rather do that live stream tethered from my phone. But see, the thing is I'm using Ecamm Live, so I can, when I stream live, I can stream live to LinkedIn.
I can stream live to Facebook and YouTube, all three at the same time. And I decided to use Ecamm because I have a Forever account that's very inexpensive with them. And it's a Forever low price subscription now because I purchased when it was a one-time offer. And when they went to a subscription model, they said, listen, because you've been such a loyal customer from the beginning, you can have our highest paid pro account for this ridiculously low price. And I'm like, I'm grandfathered in on that. The only thing is it's a Mac desktop app. It's not something I can run on my phone. So the only way I could stream is if I actually tether to my hotspot or I'm connected via Wi-Fi, such as my Starlink. Now, again, it does pretty decent, but it does it can get pixelated from time to time. That's not essential. What I will say is I've done a handful of coaching, but not coaching, connect conversations. So reconnect. I've been doing some reconnect calls with prior clients, checking in to see how they're doing and how it's been since we've worked together. And it's been fun to catch up with some folks. But one of the things that I've noticed is during those conversations and during my group coaching call and my next level mastermind, while nobody complained at all about me freezing up on their end, while other people in the conversation were talking on the other side, their audio would get garbled every now and then. And sometimes the portion that got garbled was an important part of the conversation that if I don't understand what those words were, I'm going to miss something. And then being a coach, I like to also follow body language and seeing people's facial expressions. And while the audio glitch may only happen every 2 to 3 minutes or 3 to 8 minutes or something like that, during a 90-minute call, I could actually ask somebody to repeat what they said, or I could repeat back to them to confirm I heard what they said. However, the video glitches, like their video pauses about as frequently. And the video pauses, and sometimes it may take 8 or 9 seconds before it unfreezes, sometimes maybe 13 seconds. And that, I mean, it's just stretching the Starlink Mini, I think, beyond what I think it's intended to be. Now, maybe if I were to move the Starlink Mini even further back away from the house, and there's the one edge where it's obstructed by the house there, maybe that would solve it. But then it puts it further away from the house, and maybe it could be the strength of the Wi-Fi signal from the Starlink Mini into the place where I am inside of the house. I know it doesn't say it's a poor connection for the Wi-Fi, but it's not the highest signal strength. And so there's a little, I'm still working those kind of kinks out, but relying on the Starlink Mini, which is what I thought I would be doing down here on the emphasis of the working side of my personal creative working retreat, doing lots of live streams, still being able to host and facilitate all of my coaching and mastermind calls, and also these connect calls and all the stuff. And so, yeah, relying on the Starlink Mini is not an option. Even though I have amazing 5G connection on my phone, I've already burned through the 5 gigabytes of the hotspot data. Or I'm pretty sure it's there. And there's the potential that they may determine I'm in a congested area, and after I hit 50 gigabytes, which I will by the end of today, they could slow down my speeds even on my phone. I definitely don't think that's going to be happening. I have had my iPhone go well over 50 gigabytes in a month many different times since I've been a T-Mobile customer. And at my home or at the gym or another of other places where like this, where I would go and I have a solid Wi-Fi or a 5G signal, and there's not I'm not at a place like at a sporting event or a big city or something like that. I've never experienced my mobile data actually being slowed down in that way. So hopefully, and I didn't think about that when I was having this conversation with Stephanie for our Building a Life and Business Together podcast yesterday, which, by the way, will be released on Monday. But it's like I'm going to assume that my data on my iPhone is going to continue at its super amazing 5G speeds. I will use the Zoom app on my iPhone for my group calls, for my one-on-ones. That's going to be perfectly fine and doable. And the Starlink Mini, what I want to share with you, is pretty powerful in what it's actually intended for. Just browsing the internet, being able to, do Notion and bookkeeping or anything like that, being able to do social media, uploads a little bit slower than I would desire. But hey, come on, seriously, it is what it is. You're uploading to satellites in space. So, it is what it is. But still, I'm able to stream Netflix while I'm working out or whatever. There's a lot of things that I'm able to do. And I have lots of devices here. I have my MacBook Pro. I've got my iPhone, or I've got my iPad 11-inch Pro that I use for certain things. I've got my iPad 12.9-inch Pro, and it's like I use that for certain things. And my laptop and all of those other devices, even my ebook reader, all of them are tethered to my Starlink Mini, and it's going well. By the way, Starlink Mini is available. One of the things I like about it is it allows me to go and roam. If I want to, I can drive up to the top of the Smoky Mountains, not right now because it's closed due to the snow that happened up in the mountains yesterday and today. So they're scraping all of the roads up into the national park. But and I think more snow is coming tonight and tomorrow. But once I'm able to get up into the Smoky Mountains, I can pull off into one of those little places that has an unobstructed view of the sky. I have a magnet mount for my Starlink Mini, so I can magnet mount it right to the top of my car, and I can sit there and have incredibly high-speed internet access. And yes, I can stream from up there, and yes, I could do Zoom calls. Yes, I could do those things. And in many ways, if I'm doing that from those locations, would a little glitch be okay? Would a little bit of this, especially, and this is the case, this is one of the reasons why I bought the Starlink Mini. I did not buy the Starlink Mini so that I would have internet access here. I bought the Starlink Mini so I could do more of what I do in lots of remote locations. And I like to go out and be in nature. And in a lot of places where I go to be in nature, I'm away from any cell connection whatsoever. And so that's why I bought the Starlink Mini. And there are, I think, a couple different plans that you can get, but the one I am on is the Roam plan. It's $50 a month. It gives you 50 gigabytes of data. You can opt in for extra coverage, which means that if you go over 50 gigabytes, it'll automatically keep serving you bandwidth. And it charges you $1 per gigabyte after 50 gigabytes. So if I use, right now I'm at 26 of the 50 gigabytes. Now, I've been here for a week now, and I've been doing a lot of testing in many ways. And I've also done a lot of things that I don't know that I would do all of those Zoom calls on it. So will I actually use another 24 gigabytes between now and when I head back home on January 16th? I don't know. But if I do, it's not a big deal. Now, do they have an unlimited plan for this mobile roaming internet? You can go anywhere. By the way, I could actually put this on my car with a strong enough thing, or I could put it in the back window of my car. And I could literally, it's meant for like on the top, to be installed on top of an RV. You could literally have somebody driving your RV down the road, and you could have a Starlink Mini permanently attached to the top of your RV, and you could be traveling down the road with this internet. And it's pretty amazing. So that I have that ability if I want to. I even tried it. I put it in the back window of my car, and it worked back there. I don't plan on needing internet access while I'm driving in that scenario, but just the wild thing you can do with the Starlink Mini. But what I am saying is that I haven't yet figured out a way that I would want to rely on it for the type of one-on-one coaching calls and the group calls. But outside of that, it is absolutely stunning what I'm able to do. And in a situation, in a scenario where I might say, hey, I desperately want to go and take my friend up on that offer to go to Alaska and be completely off grid, but still take a couple of lithium iron phosphate batteries, which I have plenty of as a result of my amateur radio hobby now. And I could take my amateur radio gear with me, and I can also take with me a Starlink Mini, and I would have everything I need to keep my laptop and also my iPads charged. And I could literally operate my business in the wilderness of Alaska, or in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Is that what it's called? Anyway, fun stuff. A Starlink Mini. And in those scenarios, I think I would be a little bit more forgiving of things. And also, I would probably do a little bit more to plan ahead. I think one of the things that I concerned myself with about my being let down by the little bit of glitch of here and there, just the possible drop of this or that or whatever, is that in my mind I thought that it was just going to be all perfect. And also I kind of thought I didn't, the fact is that I actually have a client who is a high ticket client who I have a one-on-one call with that was scheduled before I even thought of coming down here for this retreat. And so I definitely want zero glitches. I want zero dropped frames. I want to be able to do that. And I even thought about it after my experience with the Starlink Mini and with coming up on bandwidth caps and all this other stuff, even on my unlimited plan. I forgot about the fact that I could just operate this from the Zoom app on my phone. But I actually thought about going back home early just because I have that one already paid client. I didn't want to do, and then I had another call with a potential client that is actually that I told you about earlier that I have to reach out and see if we're still having that. But anyway, yeah, the Starlink Mini. I think it's too early for me to completely discount it as a great streaming solution, a great Zoom solution. Here's the last thing I will say about the Starlink Mini. I'm willing to suggest and say that the one area where there's a tree to, in just the branches of a couple trees that might see, when you look at the app, the Starlink app will give you a bubble view of what it sees, where it's able to see satellites, and it gives you little red dots in any place where it was tracking a satellite, and its view of that satellite would have been possible had there not been this obstruction. And I can tell you right now, the edge of this house is one of those obstructions in one area. And I'm willing to concede that it might be, if it would have still had the access to those satellites where this house has blocked it, and that would have kept it from having those little glitches, I'm willing to say that that's it. And that by maybe finding a different location for the Starlink Mini might solve that issue. Now, if that location means that I'd have a weaker signal in the house, then what I would need to do is consider getting an Ethernet cable, running it into the house, and then hooking that up to a Wi-Fi router rather than relying on the Wi-Fi router that's built into it. And that would be a worthy thing to consider. probably what I'm not likely to do any of that during this trip. I think I'm going to rely on the Starlink Mini to do everything that I want to do except for these Zoom calls, and those I will do from my phone for this trip. I'm pretty sure that's how this is all going to work out. However, don't get me wrong. Who knows if I go out and this weekend or sometime and sooner, and I find out it's like, oh wow, this is absolutely a perfect no dropped anything Zoom call. I will go into town and get myself a long Ethernet cable, and I will buy myself a Wi-Fi router for inside the house, and baby, we'll be ready to roll. And then I'll just upgrade that thing to unlimited. The great thing I'll say also about the Starlink Mini is all of these plans with Starlink Mini, there's no contract. You can pause in the middle of a month. You can, if you have, it doesn't matter if you're on the unlimited plan or the 50 gig. They do have an unlimited plan even for this, and I think it's like $165 a month, but it's unlimited data. I mean, you could just be streaming everything you want nonstop. You could go through 300, 400 gigabytes a month. I don't even know what I go through at home, but I know it's a lot. So anyway, those are the things that I've been playing around with. And the other thing is for me to consider. See, my wife and I are talking about coming down to this area here to the lake house even more frequently, just for the two of us to get away, and maybe sometimes coming down here for a week or two at a time. She would prefer to do that not during the winter, but yeah. So this isn't just a one-time thing coming down here from where I would actually intend to do work, but there's plenty of other times where Stephanie and I are thinking about coming down, where we would do our work together from here, and that's why I'm testing out all of these things. Another thing that I've been considering, AT&T is who my parents have on their phone, and we used to be AT&T users, but they used to have, it was just getting unbearable with what they were charging at the time. And so they have a plan now. It's not inexpensive, but they do have a unlimited data plan that has 60 gigabytes of hotspot ability, and that would be very sufficient for a couple of weeks of just the Zoom calls, and then using the Starlink Mini for everything else. Anyway, just wanted to share all of those things with you. That's what I've been going on. By the way, again, if you're listening to the Cliff Ravenscraft Show, yeah, this is a 2-hour and 20-minute podcast episode. And not every episode of the Train with Cliff audio journal is like this, but the Train with Cliff audio journal is practically anything and everything. And it includes all of the different rabbit trails that have happened in this episode. I am thrilled that you are still listening to my voice all the way into this episode. And I just got to tell you right now, the fact that you've made it this far in, it means a great deal to me. And if you have, I'd love to, I mean, at this point, you're so invested in this episode. I'd love to hear from you. What was your favorite thing that I shared in this episode? Just tell me something that meant something to you for this episode, because it would be good for me to hear. It's like, is there value in a 2-hour and 20-minute episode of any podcast? So if you're listening to my voice right now, would you do me a favor? Would you email me, cliff@cliffravenscraft.com, and just put the 2+ hour podcast episode as the title, and then just share with me what did you most enjoy about this particular episode. I'd love to hear. Until next time, I encourage you to take everything you do to the next level.